evening. Welcome to the January 18th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast on cable channel 15 and streamed online by FCTV. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. I'd like to thank Alyssa for taking over tonight. Jen's under the weather. So we have a quorum. We have 5 of us. It's all that matters. We're the important ones. And just to remind you guys, commenting, I'll call on each of you at the appropriate time. And votes are done by roll call. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. The link and further instructions are located on the agenda. Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022 regarding COVID-19 allows for full public participation. That means if you'd like to be heard on a specific hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct, and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Regarding RDAs, under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw apply to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the act and/or the bylaw do not apply. Therefore, the project can proceed as proposed. However, a positive determination means that the provisions of the act and/or the bylaw do in fact apply. Therefore, the project would require a notice of intent application. Therefore, as an applicant, you'll want to hear a negative determination. And for the benefit of anyone waiting for a particular hearing tonight, and so that you're not waiting unnecessarily, the following hearings are expected to be continued. 836 Palmer Ave, 4 Boyer, and 0 Vineyard. First up, vote minutes, January 4, 2023.
Chairman, I move approval of the minutes as written.
Earl Hawks, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as submitted. If there's no questions or comments. All right, Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Earl Hawks, aye.
Steve.
And I.
It is unanimous. Thank you, Kristen. Next up is a request for a continuance to amend an existing order of conditions. Karen and David Howe, 0 Vineyard Street, Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-4580 to adopt the special conditions associated with the Department of Environmental Protection's superseding order of conditions. Ms. Bergeron.
Yes, the applicant is requesting a continuance until February 15th.
Does he have a reason?
Yes, they suspect this will be the last requested continuance for this project. I did communicate with the applicant's representative today. They have acquired all the paperwork they've been waiting for, and now they just need to distribute it to us.
Perfect.
Earl Hawks, so moved.
Bird, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this till February 15th. Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Earl Hawks, aye.
Steve.
And I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until February 15th. Thank you. Next up, request for determination of applicability. First up, Robert A. and Judith P. Lytle, 594 West Falmouth Highway, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct an addition, garage, 2 patios, retaining wall, walkways, and porch. To install a pool, pool fence, dry wells, and fire pit. to add a crushed stone driveway and to add fill in order to bring the existing and proposed structures out of the flood zone. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this is a flood zone only project.
Carla Hawk, so moved.
Patton, second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Any questions or comments? All right, Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawk, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Excuse me. Next up, Frank Spring Jr., 20 Salt River Road, Lot 4, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to replace the decking on an existing dock. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Carla
Patton,
Hawk,
second.
second.
Ooh, competing seconds. All right, we have a motion and a pair of seconds to accept staff's recommendation. There's no comments or questions. All right, Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawk, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Thank you. All right. More legalese. Next, let me do this. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes, so I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw, and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, continued request for hearing under notice of intent. AC Cape Cod LLC, care of Barrett Sutton, 836 Palmer Ave, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to stabilize an eroding slope with the construction of a retaining wall, connect an under drain system to the wall to an existing drainage system, conduct invasive species management, replant trees, and restore disturbed areas. Ms. Bergeron?
Yes, the applicant is requesting a continuance until February 8th, and this is also anticipated to be the last continuance.
Excellent.
I will so move. Bird.
Patton, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until February 8th. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we're voting. Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carla Hawk, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until February 8th. Next up, continued request to amend an existing order of conditions. Les Chernoskas and Laura Tenney, 69 Paola Drive, Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-4546 to permit the installation of grass parking strips and the after-the-fact installation of a paver walkway, driveway configuration, and AC pad. Ms. Bergeron.
Yes, I am promoting Tom Bunker up to present his continued project. Hi, Tom.
Hi.
Excellent. Good evening,
Good.
Tom. You're up, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you. Let me have to get organized here for just 1 second. The computer always wants to update on a Wednesday evening. For the record, I'll bring this up in a second. For the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design. With your permission, I will share my screen.
Granted.
Should be coming up. Screen. There. Okay. So it was 2 weeks ago, I was here presenting this project for Les Ternauskas and Laura Tenney, which had to do with the deck being built somewhat oversized, larger than was approved. 1 second. Larger than what was approved, and I didn't have quite all the numbers on here. This drawing was here before. Basically, I was told to go home and get more numbers and dimensions on the plan. So on this plan, I've added 2 details which outline at a larger scale the edge of the deck. This is the 2 sections of this short piece of deck, and then there's a longer piece of deck here. And so what I've drawn, what I've shown is that the hatched area here, see with the diagonal lines, is how the deck was permitted to be built. And the red, orange, red line is where the patio was built, which is closer to the wetland than approved. And then the black line here is the outer face of the deck as it was built. So the C, since you guys have an A and a B line, I created the C line, which is the closest that anything could come without becoming closer to the wetland resource area than the house that was there previously. So that, I don't have it on here, but that line at some point on the existing house was that C line was touching the stairs. Anyway, that was the closest point of the stairs of the house to the wetland. So at this short section of deck, you can see this line with the C's, or the deck extends beyond that line by about a little more than 2/10 of a foot, which is 0.25 would be 3 inches. So 0.21 is 2.5 inches at this location. And it is in that area where it comes closer to the wetland, the salt marsh, than the previous house is about 1/2 a square foot in this location. And the amount of area that was built closer than it was permitted in between these 2 posts is 9.8 square feet right here. And then this lower detail here, again, the red line is where the patio is built under it, and then this thin black line is the face of the deck. So you can see this point right here where the radius coming from the salt marsh, again, this coincidentally is about 0.22 feet closer to the salt marsh than the previously existing house was. And the total added coverage by making the deck bigger is, 11.4 square feet of coverage added in this location here. And that includes, and then there's another 7.5 square feet because the patio was built straight across to the stairs rather than just building under the deck. So that was another 7.5 square feet of coverage. And so I've added these numbers here 28.7 square feet added coverage. But there's on the previous plan, by putting in the grass strips, there's actually a 23 square foot reduction in coverage. So this comes out to an increase in coverage of 5.7 square feet, which by the whatever tables amounts to 2 shrub, or doubling it is 17 square feet. Oh, 3 to 1. Oh yeah, that's right. That's in a zone A. 3 to 1 mitigation would be 17 square feet, which is basically 2 shrubs, which or is that just added outside the area calculated as existing planting is this green line, and the lawn line was up here, so it added 2 more shrubs in this area here. And then the second part of my homework was to show you sort of a reserve mitigation area. So this is 145 square feet of a grass strip in a zone B, and that would take 290 square feet of mitigation. If this were to be filled in, all die, whatever might happen to it, if they just get tired of mowing grass down the middle there, then they'd have to mitigate for that. And so that is this green hatched area right here, and in this location here. These 2 spots add up to 290 square feet of reserve mitigation that to be planted in the event that the grass doesn't survive out in the driveway. So those are the 2 things that I was requested to do. I will stop the share and take any questions.
Thanks, Tom. Ms. Bergeron.
Thank you. Tom, just to confirm that if the mitigation does become necessary, we'll probably just pull from the same species that have been used for the rest of the mitigation.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, so thank you for that presentation. As you stated, there are 2 areas where there is a very small encroachment into the moving closer to the resource area, and it'll just be up to the board to determine if that is a negligible amount and can be approved. But those are all my comments. Thank you.
All right. Courtney?
Tom, the what was originally going to be the plan for the driveway?
Well, originally the driveway was smaller, and there was no concrete walkway to the front door.
Okay.
And so then when they got the landscaper and they put in, it's mainly the concrete walkway, which is 107 square feet, and a couple other small things. So it's mainly the concrete walkway. The driveway got a little bit wider, some things like that. So that was the plan. That was, and there was, they added more things that weren't called for on the original plan.
Okay. Are they at the point where they're going for to get their sign off? Is that what's prompting this? They realize they've gone over the board?
Well, yeah, I mean, they had me do the plan to get compliance, and I said it's not in compliance, so I had to figure out what to do. And then when this is done in the spring, then we'll file for compliance.
Okay.
If you approve this change.
Okay. This curmudgeon has no other questions.
All right. Tom, just to say, I don't have a problem with how little it's gone closer, but what's more important to me than the mitigation is the fact that it just, we can't keep letting these things grow closer and closer. So for what that's worth.
I think, yeah, you're right. And I have to make sure when people dimension a deck, I think sometimes they take that dimension as meaning the posts or the footings. And I think whoever draws up the decks and whoever builds the deck has to realize that, these dimensions really make a difference. I think
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
happened. I mean, the posts are relatively in the right location, but all the rest of it went beyond.
Yeah, because that's what happens is they'll make it grow by cantilevering, and that's just
Right.
not the way to go, you know? I mean, we're trying to be reasonable here, but again, just throwing it out there.
Mhm.
That's all I have, Kevin.
No, I think that covers everything already. Thank you.
Maury?
Well, I thought about this one a lot, only because I always worry about the slippery slope of precedent. The fact that it was rather de minimis and it's the second story deck. So
Right.
the vegetation issue, you know, not being able to support vegetation and all that. It was a pre-existing house. It's not new construction, but it is disturbing that it's almost, it's tiring to get after the fact, you know, requests to permit these things. I'm not into tearing this off. That it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But I think that maybe a little more than 2 rose bushes would be appropriate. I think that's for something that, you know, do you want us to tear the deck off to bring it into compliance and give us only 2 rose bushes is kind of not that great of a trade-off. I would like to see a little bit more. I'm glad that you did the numbers for the driveway so that if it does fail, I don't know who's going to check on that to see if it fails, if you report back to us or we go out and check it or whatever. But I think that I can live with the moving closer only because it's the second story deck. If it was below ground or on the ground, I would not. So I would move forward with it, and I would just like to see maybe, you know, the 2 roses you're proposing. I don't know what the tree is that they're being planted under, but we'd like to get rid of lawn. We like mitigation planting, and that's all I have to say. Thank you. And thank you for all the numbers. It really helped.
A lot of numbers.
A lot of numbers.
Steve?
Thanks, Tom. It really helped to clear everything up, what the impact was. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right. Alyssa, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Then I
I'll
will
make a
make
motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Harlow Hawk second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close this hearing. There's nothing further. All right. Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Harlow Hawk side.
Steve?
And I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Bunker.
Right. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank
Night,
you,
Tom.
Tom.
Well, Tom.
All right, next up, the Christine M. Moynihan Trust, 4 Boyer Road, formerly 335 Shore Street, Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-4541 to permit the after-the-fact installation of drip strips in lieu of dry wells, the removal of gravel, and the installation of mitigation plantings. Ms. Bergeron.
The applicant has requested a continuance until February 8th.
So
And the
moved,
re-
Harlow Hawk.
Bird second, and the reason?
I did speak with Matt Costa today, and he is still speaking with the homeowner to finalize the changes to their plan.
All right. We have a motion and a second to continue this until February 8th. Are there any questions or comments? All right, we're voting. Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Harlow Hawk side.
Steve?
And I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until February 8th. And the last one has been previously continued. So that's it, folks.
I'll make a motion to adjourn with a comment that this does not break the record for the fastest meeting we've had by 5 minutes, but it was close. So my motion is to adjourn.
Carla Hawk second.
All right. Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye.
O'Brien, aye.
Come on, Maura.
Carla Hawk aye.
There's less people and it's taking longer. More.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great night, everyone. Thank you.